Let's dig in. All right. So our first question tonight, Bart, comes from our friend Kim. She's wondering if you had recommendations for supplements for an 80-year-old woman with glaucoma. There's a second part to this question. I don't know if one connects to the other. But the second piece would be, would you suggest cod liver oil over a high quality omega-3 supplement?
Okay, there's a couple things to unwrap there. One, the first part of that was the best part of it, is the 80-year-old woman. So I absolutely love when I hear people trying to level up when they're no longer 20, right? Because oftentimes we think, oh, there's nothing we can do. They're older. And that is one of my favorite things, when someone is still seeking out health and doing it almost in the holistic or alternative, direction. So power to you. So what'd you say her name was? Kim? So high five, Kim. Good job on that. And yeah, so there's a couple things here that are really important. So of course, I have to kind of give my disclaimer that, anything we suggest or recommend here on in the Health Made Simple podcast is certainly not doctor recommendations. So always check with your doctor. And, if you have to follow up with them about anything we talk about here, please do so. All right. So that being said, in the event, there are a lot of strategies that we use when I see people that have glaucoma. And the strategy is always, how do I help the body function better? And just the fact that she was talking about fish oils, it already tells me that she's educated and she understands that the fish oils have a very positive effect on things like glaucoma, and especially eye health in general. And a lot of that is because of its ability to help the body with inflammation. But I want to go specifically here because she asked a great question about, so I'm going to give two parts to it. There's something to help get rid of fluid. So glaucoma, if people aren't familiar with it, I'm going to simplify it, and it is a buildup of pressure in the eye, and then eventually over time, inhibiting eyesight. And that buildup of pressure is often caused by fluid. It's built up behind the eye. So we want to, the best that we could is to remove that fluid in a healthy way, take pressure off the eye and let the eye function normal. So I'll start right there. And yes, there is a product we use called AC Carbamide, which is fantastic. And again, this is not for treatment, but really what it does, it helps improve the function of the body. It helps fluid get through the cell walls better. And that's exactly the opposite of what happens to glaucoma. It gets trapped. And so anything we can do to help increase that fluid getting through the cell wall and essentially then scooped up by the body and urinated out, perfect. So this AC Carbamide works for anyone that retains water. So like if you eat sodium and you puff up, this is the same product we'd use. So it's very, very effective, very, very safe. And part of the magic there, it has a little bit of vitamin A in it. And that's just part of it. There's some other really amazing things that it does. And I'm talking more detail about that product at some time. Yeah, that product I love, very safe, very gentle, and we've got amazing results with people improving the osmolality. And that's what that's called, when we help increase the amount of fluids moving through the body so we can get them out. So absolutely great product called AC Carbamide. Maybe you can put that in our notes for us. So let's then chat about the question about the cod liver oil or omega-3. And I'm going to answer this specific to her needs. So it's a little bit of both. So love the fact that my guess is maybe she's listened to us before, because I'm always suggesting cod liver oil. And this is a perfect example of why I love cod liver oil so much. So cod liver oil, what's unique about it is that it has naturally occurring vitamin A and vitamin D. And it has close to 70% of the recommended daily allowance of vitamin A. There's really nothing else, Whitney, that you can get that has that much vitamin A. It is fat soluble, so it's very difficult to get a healthy source. And everyone kind of knows that vitamin A is super, super important for eye health. So for that reason, I love cod liver oil in the use of this in this situation to help increase the function, maybe decrease some of the symptoms of glaucoma. Yet, with that being said, cod liver oil is not super high relative to some other omega-3s, and one I'm going to introduce in a minute here, in what we call DHA EPA. It's not low. I would just roughly, it has about per dosing, I think that 3 capsules is a dose. It has about 600 or 700 milligrams, where you may find different omegas having 1,000 milligrams. And we want this number to be very high. So in this scenario, I'm going to recommend, I don't even know if I've ever spoken about it here yet. In the clinic, I'll use something called Calamari oil. Many people haven't heard of this. And this is one of the like literally ounce for ounce, highest levels of DHA, EPA that you can possibly get. 1 teaspoon is I use here. So it would be 3 liver oil, 1 teaspoon of calamari oil. And that is a perfect, say, formula. Now, if she already has just cod liver oil, or she already has a high quality omega-3, certainly don't throw them out. They're all going to be beneficial. If you're really trying to do kind of a sharpshooting event here and really do the absolute best we can for the eye health, that combination of AC carbamide using potentially both cod liver oil and calamari oil here in the clinic, that is often something that I would suggest or recommend. So again, I'm not giving doctor's advice. So if you need to, visit your doctor, talk to them about with them. That is often a strategy that we could use, or that I would use in the clinic.
Awesome. So just so we're clear, the calamari, like the appetizer, but this is the purest form, right?
Yeah, it's a purest form, and it comes in liquid, and it doesn't taste bad whatsoever. They use a little bit of a pure, like a lemon extract. It's a natural source. So surprisingly, it does not taste bad whatsoever. It's one of the easiest ways for those people that don't like to take a lot of the fish oils are bigger, whether it be calamari oil or tunas. And there's a lot of good ones out there. Yet they're usually bigger. For those people that don't like swallowing those big pills, this calamari oil, it knocks it off the chart. 1 teaspoon, and you get 1,200 milligrams. So typically, I try to get people closer to about 2,000 per day, somewhere in that range. So typically, I'd have someone take 2 teaspoons a day. Yet in her scenario, because she's going to do the cod liver oil, at least what I might recommend is the cod liver oil and the calamari. And yes, just like calamari, the little fishy things, but it doesn't taste that bad. I promise. Everyone thinks it does. You really have to give it a try.
That is awesome. And then the AC carbamide. So like if you are like fluid retention for any reason, you would be able to use that for it as well. That's so cool.
Yeah, and it literally works fantastic. And the beauty of it is it works really fast. So if you happen to be one of those people who, you go out to eat and you notice like your socks all of a sudden now make these big indentures, around your ankles, and we've all been there, right? So if that happens for you, relatively easier and easier, or maybe every time you eat out, you get the bags underneath your eyes and you experience those things just easier in your life, you're holding on to more fluid. And we blame it on salt, and sodium certainly can do that, but carbohydrates hold just as much water as sodium. So diet is definitely influential there. And yet there's a lot we can help the body with by helping getting those fluids back out of the cells and then picked up by the body. And then we can excrete them as urine.
That's awesome. I know we saw someone the other day at the office who I think they had Tony Chachere's. If you know Tony Chachere's, it's like that little spice bottle. And she was coming in like had a Chachere's night and looking for a little help with fluid retention the next day. Awesome.
Yeah. Yes.
AC carbamide's the thing. All right.
Very effective, very safe.
Beautiful. All right. I'm going to slide in a question here that we just had come in through Zoom. This is from Greg and Colleen. This is one of my favorite questions. Get this. I am on day 5 of the 10-day cleanse. What? The question is this: what happens next?
Oh, beautiful. So congratulations for just hunkering down and just choosing to do a cleanse. Obviously you've chosen on your own accord to do that. So power to you. I literally love when I hear people taking action like that. And I'm a little envious too, because especially during the summer, it's a little harder for me to be that disciplined. So power to them, whatever made them, dive into this. So after the 10-day cleanse, you have a couple options. One, you may choose, man, I just kicked this thing's butt, and you can continue on for another 10 days and do kind of complete what we call the 21 day. And what's beautiful about that is that you will really enhance the effectiveness and the longevity of phase 1 and phase 2 detoxification. If mentally, so even though I just said that, it will back up a step. If you're thinking, I just need to get to the finish line, this is my first cleanse, and I just get to day 10, and this is going to be awesome, victory, awesome. And no doubt about it, huge victory. At that point, stick to a whole food diet. That's the number one thing. That's my goal and my prayer for everyone that does the cleanse, is that they move from wherever they were onto kind of a strict guideline cleanse. And then on day 11 for you, certainly invite back in the, chicken, egg, fish, and even, if you're going to complete your cleanse, grass-fed organic meats, keep it all clean. Start to treat your body literally like a temple, and that you wouldn't let anything poisonous, anything that's contagious come into your body. And if you hold that philosophy, you figure out real fast how easy it is. Because everywhere you go right now, there are whole foods available. So having a whole food diet when you're done your class, and moving away from what we would have done when we're younger and say, well, I'm going to celebrate on day 11. I'm going to go out and rip it up and have beer and pizza. You've come too hard. You've done all the hard work. What day she says she was on? Day 5?
Day 5.
Day 5. So she's right in the middle of it. This is the thick of it. Day 5. Once you get to day 8, you can kind of see the light. Right, and when you're in day 5, you're thinking, okay, what am I doing here? So reintroduce the chicken, egg, fish, or what we call the animal proteins on day 11. And when it comes to supplementation, typically you will be done the bottles that you have, and at that point, either go back to what your original regimen was on a daily basis. And then we typically have a daily recommended of cod liver oil, catalin, magnesium, and little turmeric. And those 4 as a foundation are literally just phenomenal. If, assuming you're not really need to tackle any other issues there. So a couple options here, just to rewind that. One, you could go on day 11 through 21. The only difference would be you get to add back in your animal proteins. If you're choosing to end on day 10, stick to the whole food diet. That is the key. That is the key. Let your life be, changed by this decision here. And if you do that, then you're definitely going to head in a different direction. And that day, the 10-day cleanse, 10 days of putting those foods in, 10 days of taking those powders, the amount of phase 1 and phase 2, which is all in the liver, phase 1 and phase 2 liver detoxification, phenomenal for humans, phenomenal.
I am inspired every single time I talk to someone who's cleansing. It doesn't matter how many times I do it and how many people I meet who are doing it. It always is just a little invitation for me to tick it up a little on my own side. So thank you very much, guys, for the inspiration tonight. Awesome. All right. So sliding into our next question, Bart. This comes from Bobby. Bobby is going for spinal surgery fusion soon. The question is, what foods and supplements help best with recovery?
Another fantastic question, really. So this is like music to my ears. So listen, we always want to avoid surgeries, right? And maybe we can talk about that in just a moment here. Yet, if we know we're going to have one, prepare for it. Like this is a brilliant question. So I'll answer that. And again, my disclaimer, I'm not recommending or diagnosing anything yet. If I have a client in my office, there are some suggestions I have, especially with a spinal surgery. So let's step back and think, what happens in that surgery? We're going to invade the body. And even though the goal is to have a great outcome, preparing to have a great outcome is a huge part of this. So we know that we're going to have tissue damage. So like where the surgeon cuts into the body. And then we know we're going to have osseous or bone damage where they're going to either drill things in or take things out. If you're having a fusion, they're going to be drilling things into the bone. So we have 2 primary, we have soft tissue and hard tissue. So bone and connective tissue damage. So let's help them heal. This is the strategy. So there's really 4 things that I would suggest here. No doubt, all of the things that we always talk about, clean living. This is the time to make sure that we're doing absolute best we possibly can to keep inflammation down. Mindset's got to be really solid here because we want our mind on our side when it comes to healing, especially like the spine. And here's the beauty too. Our bodies are amazing. And the surgeons are amazing. Their techniques and the tools that they have now and the equipment they use now is literally light years ahead of where it used to be. So if there's some concern, fear, and worries there, it's natural to have that and let it go. At this point, if you made your decision, go all in. So no hesitation when you go in. Know that you're going for the surgery. When you get out, you're going to be a better human as a result of having that surgery. All right. So with that being said, I'm going to give you 4 things, some suggestions that I would typically recommend. First one is something called ostrophin PMG. This promorphogen helps bone remodel because the bone it helps the DNA remodel. So we help the bone kind of recognize what do we need to do here. And especially most of us aren't 20 anymore. So the body needs a little bit of support in that remodeling phase. So number one, we're going to help the bone, and that's through something called Ostrophin PMG. We're also going to use an herbal supplement that supports bone remodeling as well. And that is called, what is that one called? Ostroplex. No. It'll come to me. It's called Bone Complex. Yes, Bone Complex. And that's through MediHerb line. That's really interesting. It has a little red clover and it has a little kudzu in it. And again, this is very specific to helping bone remodel. So very, very good, especially initial phases after surgery. So those two will help with the bone. And then the third one that you want to use is something to help the soft tissue. And one of the best ones is an herb called Gotu-Kola. That will help all connective tissue. So not only getting skin that's going to be cut, your muscles are going to be cut. There might be some tendons that are beat up a little bit. So there's a little bit of everything. The ligaments are no doubt what they call your PLL and ALL, which are the ligaments that wrap around the spine. They're going to be damaged in the surgery. So helping them, this is why I literally love this question, that they're thinking, okay, I'm going to have this procedure done. What do I need to do to make sure that my body can handle the procedure? Which is literally a beautiful way of thinking. So that's the third one right there. It's called Gotu-Kola. And then the fourth one is one I kind of throw in there that's kind of, I use it to help heal really anything. And that's chlorophyll. It's called Chlorophyll Complex. Chlorophyll it's really plant blood. And it's one of the things that I can put with any protocol for any reason, and it'll enhance the body's ability to heal. And I know that's a lot right there. And for Bobby having a spinal fusion, and anyone listening to this, I say, oh my goodness, all those supplements, are you kidding me? We're talking about a spinal surgery. There's a lot going on here. So the goal is to whatever it takes strategy. And that's probably why this question's been thrown out to us. So what does it take? What does it take? I'm going to go into the knife, and this is going to be a big deal. And this is the way that we support the body to help heal and recover. So then with all the work that the surgeons are doing, those master men and women, that they are, whatever work they're doing, can have a good outcome. That's I'm certainly not a fan of everyone going out and get surgery. With the challenge with the bad rap a lot of surgeries get, it's not the surgeons. It's not, and it's not fair because those men and women have been trained as well as anybody in the health field has been trained. The challenge is who they're working with. And a lot of the time they're working with some of the most unhealthy people. So the outcomes aren't as awesome as we'd like them to be. So to change your percentage or to change your potential of what your outcome is going to be, just do some things entirely different. So great question. And hopefully that answer helps you out.
I really love how you worded that, Bart. I think you said preparing to have a great outcome. Like that seems so universally applicable because we all have like things that we're heading towards. And especially like this is just an example of like really setting the stage to have a really fantastic outcome for whatever it is you're like choosing to commit to. And it kind of makes me wonder like if I know there's like pieces to healing. I wonder, is there like an order that you would like go in for healing?
There absolutely is. And that's a great question. There absolutely is an order to healing. And let's dive into that a little bit, because I think that having at least heard what I'm about to share with you about healing, the order of healing, can really give perspective of, especially when you're not doing well. You've got a gut issue, you've got a spinal issue, you've got a head issue, an eye issue. What do you do next? And the goal is never to have to hit the panic button, to have a sequence of events, and therefore that becomes less emotional and more strategic on what is taking place. And you can always kind of check where you're at on any one of them. So I'll kind of rip them off in order. I'll list them all, and then we're going to go back and dive into them a little bit. So the first thing that we have to address is mindset. We'll come back and explain that in just a moment. And then the second is nutrition. No brainer there. But first, mindset, then nutrition. And then after we address nutrition, that's when we start to consider supplementation. And this is in general, Whitney. I would say this not only like if someone's looking at, surgery, but this is just everyday health. Like we're looking like, what do I need to do today? I want to get healthier. So start with your mind, and then you got to get your diet right. And then you look into supplementation. I'll talk why sometimes it doesn't always work out in that order. And then your potential treatments. And I'll talk about those in just a moment as well. Then once we get all the way down to that category, that's when we might look at drugs or medications. And then last, but certainly not, I guess last would be surgery. So it goes mindset, nutrition, supplementation, therapies, drugs, and then lastly, surgery. The fundamental challenge in what I just said there is that the first four, at least three, are not quick fixes. They are the ultimate answer. And our culture is so fixated on fix me now, really, really quick. So we use drugs and surgery, which should be the absolute last resort. They should be very, very, very last in line. So let's back up and go through those a little bit. And hopefully people understand, even the way I just answered Bobby's question. I'm not anti-surgery. I'm not anti-medication or drugs. There's a time and a place, and based on what I just told you there, that the time and place for drugs and surgery are next to last and last. They should not be first and second or third or fourth. And if you've just heard that part of this conversation and took that away and go, oh, interesting. I should be taking care of my mind first, and then my nutrition, and then seeing what supplements, vitamins, herbs, et cetera, that I could or must have in my body to create balance. And then I look at therapies, and there's a whole ton of them out there. All right, so let's unfold this. Mindset first. When it comes to our mindset, the fundamentally, we heal. 80% of the healing takes place when we sleep. And that's for a very specific reason, because most of our sleep, we should be spending in what's called the parasympathetic activity. And so there's two parts of our nervous system. There's one called sympathetic and parasympathetic. I shouldn't say two parts. There's two actionable states that your nervous system is in. One is sympathetic dominance or sympathetic activity. And in that state, we're essentially operating in a fight or flight. And it's not always bad, but in that state, we can be creative and we're on the go. And even the energy I use right now is more of a sympathetic type of nervous system. Yet we don't really heal. That's fight or flight. When the pendulum swings to the other side and we shut off that sympathetic dominance, swing into parasympathetic, that is what we call rest and digest, recover and heal, rebuild, regrow. So you're in one or the other. You're never in both. There's a very, very hard line there. You can't have both operating at the same time. And that's why sleeping becomes so imperative. But that's also why where fear provokes fight or flight. And when we're not feeling well, fear is a predominant thought. It is a predominant mindset. Oh my God, what if this gets worse? And it doesn't make us weak. It doesn't make us, less than humans or anything like that. Listen, not knowing why your body's in pain, not feeling good, not knowing when it's going to end is not a comfortable situation. So it's very common. There's a little bit of fear that always comes with lack of function and or pain. And that is why the people around you is so critical in these moments, so we can pump the brakes. And maybe that's where a coach, your doctor, a mentor, someone can help guide you through, so you don't have to pay what I call the dumb tax. The dumb tax is paying this tax over and over and over again because you're just making dumb decisions. And we do it so often in health because we don't pump the brakes. And it's so easy to have someone else, especially nowadays. There are so many other people that have been down your road and say, oh, this is the path we want to take. And if we can get the mindset part of it right, we can become healing machines. And that gets lost. That last part of there gets lost too frequently when we run into ailments. And that is that the human body was designed to heal. Every single one that is still breathing is an awesome healing machine. Every single cell in your body has one goal: stay alive. That's it. It wants to stay alive, it wants to survive, and it wants to thrive. And our job should be, or could be, just to get out of the way and provide the tools to let it thrive.
It's so good to hear it in that perspective, because I think oftentimes if you're in like a scenario in which you're uncomfortable, you've got some discomfort going on, we think like, oh, this must end immediately and we must take immediate action. And truly, like, taking a pause to get the mindset right can really set you on a great path towards healing.
100%. And the reality is, I've been in healthcare for 25 years, and there are very, very, very few things, less than 1% of all the health issues that we're going to have, outside of traumas like car accidents and stuff, that time is of the essence, meaning that you have to make a decision today. I've prolonged surgeries until they just go away. I'm going to give an update when we get to the treatment part. Yeah, I'll talk about it now. I'll give an update on my knee. And yet time can be your best friend if used wisely. And then it can also become your enemy if you put a schedule on your healing, or if you put a time frame and say, I have to heal by my vacation to Paris. That's when we get in a little trouble. Or I can't, I got a thing on vacation I'm going on next week. I got to get rid of this head cold. Once we put parameters on it, you actually, not even close, you always move into sympathetic dominance. You're in fight or flight and you're watching the clock, tick, tock, tick. You're getting closer and closer and you're getting revved up because your ailment's still there. So you're not healing and you're most likely prolonging. And then we skip numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4 and jump to 5 and 6, which is drugs and surgery. So I'm going to throw that out there, that the mindset, quite frankly, is probably it is the most important thing that we get right. Over all these years of just observing people, I watch people who, and a lot of times you have to have experience at having ailments to really get your mind right. Because, and oddly enough, it can work to your benefit to have a lot of experience in crap. We become good at dealing with it.
Yeah, it's the nature of wisdom, right? Like that's the only way we really get it is by living it.
Yeah, I know that firsthand. If I didn't punish and beat my body up so much, I probably wouldn't have as much respect for it now that I do, or patience with it, and then, I think in the mindset part of it, I at least must mention this. This is also where ownership of all components of your health is required, all of it. And people say, wait a minute, what if I have cancer? Should I own that part of it? Yes, you should. Still your cells, still your body, because the moment you allow yourself to own, I'm not saying you take blame for it and you caused it, but the moment you are able to say, I own this, hey, this is my body, I'm on the same side, there's things going on, that's when we can then create strategies to unwind all of this and heal it. But if we're always in the fight with, that's not me, that's not my fault, bad body, bad back, bad neck, bad, all that stuff. Tough place to heal from.
True that. I think also just when you mention this kind of group of people that are around you, it makes me think of when I get like unexpected news. There's like people that I tend to want to talk to, and it tends to be people who have experienced something similar to what's coming my way.
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of us allowing ourselves to lean on each other. I know most people love to be in service. What we're not good at is asking for that help. And we've been fortunate, to have each other, to have the people around us we do. And I think it kind of breeds itself where it maybe gets a little bit easier as you kind of practice it and you're helping and supporting others around you. You start to see, wow, this is a pretty good thing. This works. It works for everyone to be able to ask for help and then to receive help. And it's amazing what people can offer each other. And often we don't even ask, but the answer is sitting right in front of you.
Yeah, I think it really is a practice asking for help, and it gets easier as you practice it. I can say for sure.
Yes. All right. So that's the starting point. Must own our own health. We must own and understand that state of sympathetic and parasympathetic, and hopefully making all of the following, say the other 5 things that we're going to talk about, always making them from the parasympathetic position. So I'll often encourage my clients and my patients, when I see them, I'll help them pump the brakes. Be like, all right, I understand how you feel about that. I felt that way before. Let's just pump it. I feel like if we could just pause for a second here, I found in the past that we could just slow it down. And the next thing you know, the people will come in a following day. Maybe the pain is the same, but they've got to sit in those thoughts and those emotions a little bit, and they can make different decisions. And anytime you can move the panic, the worry, and the fear out of decision-making, it'll always be a better decision. Always, always, always. At least moving in the right direction. So the second part is nutrition. Do we ever talk about nutrition on this show? Yeah.
So I think we do touch on it now and again. Yes.
Now and again. Yeah. And I will continue to talk about nutrition. And I know it sounds like a broken record at times, yet we can't put bad things in the body, expect good things to happen. And part of the aging process is inevitably the law of returns will be diminished. And this is really important for us to understand. And what I'm saying here is that we need to be doing better now than we ever have in our lives, especially. So I'm 52 years old. So what I eat now has a bigger role in my life than it did when I was 22 years old. My body's been on this earth a lot longer. There are certain things that it's better at. Well, really, there's not many things that it's better at than when I was 22, meaning the physiology, just because the cells are changing a little bit. So as we age, and that age could be from 30 to 31 or whatever it may be, yet as we move along in life, each and every year, we should be getting a little better at putting clean things into our body. So with that being said, we have to go back to the basics here too, and that each cell that you have is made from what you put into your body. And if we put really good things into our body, you have an opportunity to make really good things. And I say opportunity because it doesn't always work out perfect, because you might have beaten some body parts up really bad. You might have taken some out. You might, be lacking some things. And even when you put great things in, you still may need more support. Yet fundamentally, the cells are made from what you put in your body. So if you go out tonight and you have a shot of tequila, I don't know that you're making good cells. I
have to applaud our question asker about the spinal fusion surgery, because he did specifically ask about the foods as well.
Yes, right. So, and I think I skipped over that. And I'll talk about that right now. So in order to build a big, strong, healthy body, and it doesn't have to be big, but just a strong, healthy body, we need fundamentals. We need things like building blocks, which are amino acids. And amino acids, for the most part, the best amino acids, the building blocks of proteins, come from animal meats, and which means chicken, egg, fish. Those essential amino acids are more readily available when in animal products. Doesn't mean that you can't eat your vegetables. In fact, you have to eat your vegetables. We have to be able to move things through our body, the fiber, the vitamins, the minerals that we get. And so the closer we can get living off of and using the philosophy of God's garden, which is really, if it comes from a root plant tree, walks in the garden, swims in the sea, the closer we get to that, that is essentially good nutrition right there. I want to say at least this about nutrition as well. Let's just say that you have fire in the body, like a fire in your house. And for us in the body, that would be inflammation. And many of us, your root of your ailment, back pain, headaches, disease in the body, diseases, you name it, autoimmune conditions, at the root of many of those is at least a component of inflammation. And if you have inflammation, think of it as a fire. If you put toxins in, it's like throwing gas on the fire, period. This should be an everyday conversation that literally we're having, with our patients and with each other every day. Like, if you want to feel better, you have to start at some point, put better foods into your body. And if you constantly are putting fuel on the fire, so inflammation, how we eat, we've talked about this on this show before, the amount of food that you eat that's causing inflammation has a direct role on how much pain you have in your life. And sometimes it's hard to catch this, but once you start paying attention to that, you recognize, wow, my little pains that I have, the 1s and 2s and 3s, no big deal kind of stuff. When I eat really bad, maybe that's too much gluten, maybe it's, something that's really inflammatory, chips and GMO products and canola oil and all that stuff. The next several days, you start to feel old and you start to think, man, I have arthritis. I need to go see my doctor. There's something wrong with me. And all of a sudden, our food choices all now go back and interfere with our mindset, because now we separate. The moment we start to say there's something wrong with me, that's a separation of mind and body. That's not ownership. So this is why these really all play together. So we started with mindset, moved on to nutrition, God's garden. Fundamentally, that's good. And then we shift into supplementation. And as a practitioner, I use supplementation almost, and you could use these simultaneously. So like one of the people, I think it was Bobby, was talking about his spinal surgery. So he's having surgery, but the mindset is, so he's got his mindset directly. I'm sure that there's been a long sequence, or at least I'm going to make some assumptions here, a long sequence of events to get him into this decision that he's going to have the spinal surgery, and probably a lot of some decisions better than others. They got himself beat up, however that might have been, and making better decisions now, moving in the right direction, but making the mindset part of it to have the nutrition and the supplements to help him heal. So the supplementation, the vitamins, the minerals, the herbs, I would like to say they were optional. What the reality is that we're most of us are playing catch up for decades. For the most part in our country, with 0 to 10 years old, we're probably 70 to 80% processed food every single day of our lives. And most of that is grain or wheat based, which is all pro-inflammatory. And then there's copious amounts of sugar. So we spend a good part of our beginning part of our lives depleting the human body. And therefore, when we then eventually go, oh, wait a minute, I want to feel a little better. I want to move better. I want to look a little bit better. I want to lose a couple pounds. I want to get stronger. I want to get back to having energy and mind power again. That's when we get a supplement. That's the beauty of having, whole food nutrition, whole food supplements, having herbs, and hopefully strategies and how to use them. There's a lot of them out there. So you don't need them all, but they're often very important and powerful tools that we can use to take the next step.
Yeah, it's such a good thing to have in the toolbox to add to mindset and then nutrition. I remember once you gently saying to me, like, the supplements aren't like the only thing. That's why they're called supplements.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's the part I'm always looking at. I use a lot of supplementation, and I'm always very privy if I think that someone is using supplements to supplement a bad diet. And it doesn't really work. Would it still better to take supplements than not? If you're not, if you have a bad diet, sure. Is it probably collectively a bigger waste of money? Yes. So the goal would be, again, mindset, want to be healthy, nutrition, take those actions, those simple actions, start eating a whole food diet, anything from God's garden, which is beautiful. And then filling in the gaps, the supplements. And, and again, that's where maybe you find a practitioner or you do some studying online. There's so many resources to find out what supplements, I guess what brands, but also what supplements would be best for you. And what's the difference between a vitamin? What's the difference between an herb and a mineral? And which ones are most voided in my life or in the bodies? So for magnesium in our country, most people are voided in magnesium, sugar, stress, alcohol, soil, all of those are one of the reasons. So even if the good diet is there are still going to be things that we're deficient in.
And one of the coolest things I think about whole food supplementation is that it doesn't harm. It's like very healing.
Yes, and that is also probably lost when we think about supplements, the pros and cons to it, is that we're giving the body an opportunity to gain momentum, to move forward, to maybe, fulfill some deficiencies or overcome some ailments that are taking place, and doing all of that without harm. And that, I think that gets lost often when we think about the options that we have here, as we talk about these different options, 1 through 6. So far, 1 through 4, really the worst case scenario, it will cost you money. That would be the biggest loss that you have, but it wouldn't necessarily, I can't think of any of these, a good mindset, good proper nutrition, using the proper supplements. They're not going to make anybody ill. And when it comes to our health.
Yeah, that's a golden ticket right there. Well, I'm pretty excited to learn about the treatment portion, having a chance to work alongside you for a little while. I've been exposed to some of these awesome modalities that can really help and heal.
Okay, so this is where, when I talk about this part of it, treatments, and you see it's the number 4 thing. So I'm a chiropractor. You might think, well, why don't I put chiropractic at number 1? This is the best thing for. I believe that when you get adjusted, no doubt, head to toe, your body's going to function better. We balance out the central nervous system, which is going to change the mindset. I can't tell you. In fact, I'm going to make sure that I want to insert a clinical insight here in just a moment. Yeah, there are so many different types of therapies, yet the mindset of using the therapy to help yourself heal versus to fix what's wrong. It's a subtle play on words, but very important. And so it looks like this And there's nothing wrong if what I'm about to describe here said, well, that's me. That's what I do. I go into my doctor, I go into you, Dr. Bart, and I say, something wrong with me. Can you give me adjustment, crack in my spine or something and make me feel better? If you pay attention, I will usually flip that conversation and say, well, what is your body trying to tell you? How do you think you got here? What do you think's going on? And then we always have a conversation about how you move, how you eat, and how you think. So that is built into almost every single visit I have. Yet there's a lot of modalities, a lot of therapies out there that are absolutely phenomenal. So I want to go through some of them. And yet, as we think of these, we're also going to put those in, up against the spectrum, or the kind of conversation is, does this cause harm? Is there potential for harm in these therapies? What else, is there a side effect? And most of these that I'm going to mention, that they're natural, they're, as long as they're delivered properly, like you can deliver anything wrong. So as long as they're delivered properly, whether it be a sauna session or an ice bath, as long as they're delivered properly and performed properly, that they're going to be safe. And this is where you can really tap into a whole nother level of healing, because now we're going to get an outside in source that's going to help the inside of the body help heal. So of course, there's things like sauna. And sauna, of course, is going to help us detox, which I love. Any kind of sauna, anytime we increase the heat from the outside, it makes our cells flex. So we push out what's on the inside. As long as you're staying hydrated, a sauna session really can help detox. And if you're using things like infrared sauna, which penetrate a little bit deeper, they have even a greater detox element to it. Now, I know a lot of people say, well, I heard that you're supposed to do, like if you listen to Joe Rogan and stuff, you're supposed to do your saunas at 220 degrees. And that's for hormesis. That is for literally stress adaptation. So the ability to adapt to stress. Not necessarily the best when it comes to detoxing a cell. So there's different reasons for different applications there. But again, both of them really good. Same thing if we use like cryotherapy, which would be like ice baths and cool tanks and stuff like that. That is the ability to, one, close down a fat cell like that, which is beautiful, which means that when you close down the fat cell, it can't absorb anymore. So oddly enough, there's people who use cryotherapy, ice baths, for weight loss. I know that sounds insane, but that's one of the things that happens. The better benefit is the adaptation to make your body stronger and reduce inflammation. So those are some fundamentals that are really popular right now. And literally, we should do a show on all types of holistic therapies. Let's put that on the calendar. Yet I want to skip ahead to talk about a couple others. One that we introduced recently to the office, which is sound wave therapy. I've known the science behind sound wave therapy for 20 plus years. I kind of did like a thesis when I was in chiropractic school on the piezoelectric effect on sound wave therapy, and really how bone remodels to stress and what happens in the remodeling process. And so we have the sound wave therapy, and again, non-invasive, but it sends a sound wave into the body. And if there is scar tissue, if there's arthritis, it starts to break that up and help remodel. And the beauty here is it elicits a stem cell response. And you've seen already, we've only had it in the office for not even 2 months now. And the kind of results we're getting are absolutely bonkers, which is phenomenal. So I'm gonna update people now on my knee. So I injured my knee probably 8-9 months ago, and tore my meniscus, had the MRI, the whole thing. And I was doing everything that I thought I could do. For the most part, my diet was dialed in. I've been doing all kinds of very, very strategic knee therapy exercise, strengthen my knees. My knees are stronger than ever. My legs might even be stronger than they've been in most of my life, because I've been doing all these things every single day. I go through routine to create increased range of motion. And yet 8 months straight, every single step I took, a pain in my right knee. So I haven't been training in sense of, I like to do, some kickboxing, I like some jiu-jitsu. Haven't been able to do any of it because of my knee. And I was getting pretty discouraged. I'm not going to lie. I was getting closer and closer to maybe this is the one. Maybe this is the one I have to have surgery. So I sent my MRI report off to a couple of different orthopedic surgeons that are acquaintances of mine. And two of them said, yeah, Bart, you got to have surgery. Easy breeze, but they said easy breezy, and it was healthy as you are. most likely you recover fast. You know what to do from there. I'm not going to tell you what to do. And I gave him to another guy. And another guy's been, I've known Dr. Michael for probably, my wife and I have known him for, I don't know, 15, 20 years. It's acquaintance. They don't live here full time, but they're down here. So we've known him and his wife for a long period of time. He's an orthopedic. So I know I could trust him, but he also knows he's not getting my business because he's in a total different state. So I send him my MRIs. We get on a phone call. So grateful that he was willing to do that. And he gets on there and he basically says, hey, Bart, listen, your knee's in such good shape. Once we cut from that point forward, your knee will be going downhill. That's the most honest thing I can tell you. I can also get you out of pain literally the moment you wake up and walk out of there. But you will have a lesser version. Your right knee will no longer be as good as your left knee, because the moment you cut, you will dehydrate, you create scar tissue. And this is for every part of the body, folks. I know this isn't a conversation that we have with our surgeons often, but once you cut, you've now damaged tissue. So I appreciated that so much, but at the same time, it's not what I wanted to hear, because it was 8 months of me taking care of this. And I wanted something to change. And he said, you know what to do. And I really didn't. He's like, you know what to do. You got to go do your thing. And I was like, damn, okay. So it inspired me and it made me open up again my thought process. And then that's when I'd been exposed to the sound wave therapy before. And I said, man, I've been able to do it. The therapist who was bringing it to our office, she moved. So I haven't been able to use it. And so then we called up the company and said, maybe we'll invest in this. We got it. And sure enough, 6 sessions later, I went 14 rounds the other night. Maybe I shouldn't have, but I got back to striking. I'm not fully engaged in jiu-jitsu. That's not far behind. My wife and I went on 2 runs. I didn't think I'd ever run again. So this was 2 orthopedic surgeons telling me absolutely must have surgery. There is no way around this too. I have 0 pain in my knee right now. And so, and I share that with you. It's called sound wave therapy. It's a little uncomfortable at times, and then it's just part of the remodeling. When you take the machine off, it doesn't hurt at all, and it's quick, fast. And the beauty of this was what I love the most about it. There's no downtime. I'm like anyone else. I don't want to be down. I don't want 6 weeks down. I don't want to have, a timeout where I don't get to do anything. I can't exercise. So literally I can do this therapy and just get right back into things. So my point of bringing up the sound wave therapy, and then I won't spend too much more time on it yet. I do want to talk about chiropractic and acupuncture for a moment. My point being here is there's a lot of good things out there, and I needed someone to tell me I have to go do my thing. And I hadn't done all my things. I'd done a lot, and I invested a lot of time and a lot of money. I did exosome therapies, and I think they all were helpful. And this is the one that pushed it over the top. And now when I say I have a routine, I have about a 15, 18-minute routine that I do in my knees every morning. So I'm putting in the work, and I'm not giving that work up, because I'm so grateful now. I never talked to you guys about it, but every single step I took for the last 8 months, every time my right foot touched the ground, I had knee pain, every single step. And I kept thinking, what's this going to be like in 30 years? It was mortifying to think about this. So I will tell you now, I have no pain in my knee. I drive my tractors. I run around the yard. My wife and I have been on 2 runs. I probably shouldn't have. I went 14 rounds the other night. That hurt cardiovascular wise, but because I'm not in that shape anymore. So again, my point here is there are so many safe alternative therapies. The question is, what are you willing to go for? To what extent are you willing to reach out for your own body and your own health?
Wow, Bart, I just have to thank you so much for your personal testimonial. I think sometimes we might think that you can't be in pain and can't be beat up, and it's something that can really happen to all of us. And to really follow your own path, right? So you're kind of giving us these 6 steps. It sounds like you added a few more in there. But starting off with that mindset of just knowing you're going to work this out. Mm-hmm. And to really speak to the people who are around you. You've been on this path for 8 or 9 months, and you connected with the right person who gave you the right message at the right time, and here you are. It's awesome.
Yeah, and thanks for acknowledging that. And part of that, I think, and you've heard it being in the office as much as you have, you'll hear people say things like, I've done everything. And when I hear that, I always wonder, have you really done everything? And I'm not knocking those people, because I'm not going to lie. In the conversation, when I called Dr. Mike, there was a part of me that wanted him to say, yes, Bart, it's time for surgery. Like, there was a part of me, because it would have been easy. Like, that would have been like, I would have woke up the next day and the pain would have been gone. I wouldn't have to do any more work. Like, and there was part of my brain that was saying that. And also knowing, I appreciate so much the honesty that went with that, that said, and the moment I cut on your knee, Bart, and he said, for, 52-year-old guy, he knows me, he knows what I like to do in my life. I said, your knees are in phenomenal shape when it came to the rest of the cartilage and everything else. It's like, but the moment I cut on it, that all changes. And that conversation doesn't happen when our mindset isn't right, because we're in such a fixated with just help me reduce my pain. And then the conversation you're having with your doctor and your surgeon, they're answering those questions. And they say, well, doc, when will this be better? It's, well, the moment you get off the table, the pain's going to go away. You didn't ask those are going to be a side effect here. What's the detriment of having this? Well, what will my rehab look like? And so that is a mindset to be able to willing to have those kind of conversations. And so again, my point being, there's so many therapies out there, so many good people, so many talented healing people out there, that I just shared the one that I use. And then of course, chiropractic. So I'm going to tie in, we got a little bit of time here. What?
We got a little bit of time. Yes.
Okay. A little bit of time. So real quickly, I want to tie in a clinical insight. So that happened today. Young woman, I don't even know if she's 30, gut issue. And the gut issue was there about a month ago, went away and came back with a vengeance. And the description, a lot of times with gut descriptions, they're not always the same, but the description was just feels stuck. She was eliminating properly, but uncomfortable, pain, and, drinking clean food. In fact, her diet she was following a FODMAP, which that is a very, very detailed. I rarely recommend it because it's so hard to follow. It's awesome therapeutically, but it's so hard to follow. I rarely have people do it because the compliance is so low. So anyways, following, so food dialed in and whatnot. And so my job is not to get derailed and chase the symptoms. My job is to go back to what we're talking about here: mindset, nutrition, right? Supplementation. Those were all dialed in, and then therapy. In the therapy in this situation, where it's a state of the nervous system. So if the mindset was good, and the mindset always wavers, it goes back and forth. Maybe we're intelligent, smart, positive people, yet because we're uncomfortable, it wavers. It kind of fluctuates. So in that, I know when it comes to the gut, almost always a gut issue always involves being stuck in sympathetic dominance. So this is just a good example. Gut health, gut health, gut health. The last person you're probably thinking, I'm going to go see my chiropractor for my gut health issues. And sure enough, I adjust her. I do some work on something called the ICV valve, which can get closed under stress. I open it up and gone, just like that. So again, there's so many good therapies. And I know I just described two that we do, and it wasn't intentional yet. There are so many good things out there. So if you think you've come to the end of the line, just start asking around. There are more therapies. There are more amazing practitioners out there doing some amazing work out there. All right. So I'm going to jump ahead to the next two.
Wait. Okay. But I have one question really quick.
Yes.
You said 14 rounds. What are we talking about? 14 rounds of sound wave therapy?
No. 14 rounds, 14 rounds in the ring, like a boxing.
A different therapy. Got it. Okay.
Total different therapy, but just as therapeutic. Trust me. Yeah. So 14 rounds is very hard. Very hard. Yes. Like that's for any of my peeps out there that do any sparring, that 14 rounds is brutal. Now the cardiovascular, I just pushed myself to reintroduce that neurology, that mindset that it takes to go there. And I was mindful to my knee. It wasn't taking like kicks right to my knee and stuff. That time will come. Yeah, just didn't do it that night. But the mindset of re-engaging myself and the fulfillment, how good it made me feel to be able to do that. So now it was worth that. 8 months, 9 months is gone. I don't even know about it anymore. Now it's what else can I do moving forward? All right. Awesome. Yeah. So let me jump forward. So we did mindset, and then we did nutrition, then we did supplementation, then therapies. And then if we've done all of those and we've done them over long periods of time and we're literally hands up in the air, that's when you would consider drugs. Yeah. And then same thing, if we're going to use drugs, have strategies. So for example, if you're going to use an antibiotic, how about using a probiotic? right? If you're going to use like a Tums or Rolaids or Prilosec, something's shutting down the acid in your gut, like an antacid. You need a good whole food multivitamin because you've also blocked out things like vitamin C and zinc and magnesium. So all drugs, in order to be a drug, I could be wrong here, but I think that this is accurate. Every drug has a side effect. And to recognize it and honor it, be like, all right, I know I'm going to use this for this, and I'm also going to address the side effect that it causes. And there's nothing wrong with that. So if, that's the beauty. We have modern day medicine. We have incredible medications and drugs and therapies that are available to us. The challenge is when we act as if they don't have side effects, or we ignore the blatantly obvious. And that's why you need a licensed doctor to prescribe them, because they have side effects. They have drugs. They could potentially damage things. So that's number 5. And then number 6 is surgery. There's a time and a place for it. And the time is long and the place is last. It's in last place. So if you're wondering if you're a candidate for surgery, ask yourself, am I in the right mindset? Is my nutrition on point? Not I tried, not I did a little better. I mean, literally, are you still sucking back alcohol 3 or 4 nights a week? Are you still eating plenty of gluten that's going to inflame? If you're doing that, you're not healing. You're definitely not going to heal. You may have status quo, but you won't heal. Are you taking the proper supplementation for what it is? Have you got with a professional about that can help that particular ailment? Are you doing modalities? And that there's so many modalities out there. And there's a lot that my wife and I do, but there are so many out there that literally that people don't even know about that are amazing. And then if it's even before surgery, then you introduce the possibility of, drugs or medications, and then surgeries last. Yes, after the time and place for surgeries definitely last, and after a long period of time. And then, like we started this conversation off with I think it was who asked the question, Bobby. What do you do if you do have surgery? How do you help counterbalance the damage that will be caused by the surgery? And when I say damage, I'm not knocking surgeries. I'm stating the obvious, that there's going to be a knife in your body, and knives cause damage. So they may be helping things out, but if you recognize that and honor the fact that your body will be beat up, you can change the results that you're going to get, and be on that side of assuring that you're going to be in a position to get phenomenal results, so you don't become part of that statistical group that's kind of like hit or miss. So those are the 6 things.
Yeah, and like to move through them in that order of healing, I think really enhances your capacity to have ownership of the process, so that the end result feels like something that is like part of you versus like some external experience. It's awesome.
Yeah, it really does. And if for anyone that may be in a situation right now, there's a lot of people that, are experiencing dis-ease or disharmony or discomfort in their life, and ask, have you put in the amount of time? Are you in the right mindset? Do you have the right people in your life? We start to pull all those things in. And the beauty is almost always there's more we can do. Almost always. And I'll tell you, when you start to overcome obstacles on your own, and you really get the sense, and you get to become at one with your body and really experience how powerful the healing machine your body can be, it gives motivation for the next time.
It's an awesome thing. Well, I can't believe it, but here we are at the end of our Health Made Simple show this evening. So let's finish it up with one more great question, Bart. Here we go. What is one thing that our listeners, one step they can take to move towards becoming superhuman?
Look for more. I'm just going to leave it at that. So just look for more. And there's always more if you're looking.
Gorgeous. Well, thank you all so much for joining us here for the Health Made Simple show.
Yes, and appreciate all of you that are showing up every week and or listening to us and are recording and whatnot. So appreciate, keep doing your thing, keep sharing out, keep spreading the love. And of course, we're going to continue to take deliberate action for your mind, your body, overall wellness. Y'all be awesome.